So I've been thinking a lot since the events of Tumbler Ridge. I know in the aftermath there's been a lot of people saying horrible things about trans people. It's also worth noting that in the lead up to those events, there have been a lot of people for a lot of years saying horrible things about trans people. If you've followed my content for a while, you're probably familiar with the idea of reactive abuse. It's where somebody says or does something hurtful with the goal of provoking and prodding out a reaction from someone. The goal is to, kind of needle someone and then hope that they blow up, ideally in front of other people, and then the needler gets to go, oh my goodness, I'm the victim. The Liberals have put forward a bill called the Combating Hate Act, proposed legislation to protect communities against hate. I don't know if it's Sean Fraser or Mark Carney or both of them who are the ones behind this law, but I think that's worth noting. And in principle, I like how the bill is sold to us. All the types of prejudice that they talk about are bad. Though in practice, in other countries recently, these sorts of laws have become an excuse for the police to round up people holding signs at protests saying that they don't support the bombing of children. And to be clear, I also do not support the bombing of children. It's worth noting that from the Epstein files that have been released, we know that Epstein and people connected to him were pouring heaps of money into academic washing the hatred of trans people. So what I'd love, since this law is still being workshopped, though I'm sure no politicians will actually listen to me, but what I'd love to see is that when someone gets investigated for hate speech, require the cops to dig into their finances and check and see if their hate was motivated not by their own personal convictions, but because someone was paying them to say things, to drum up support for hatred of certain people. Check and see if someone was paying them to convince adults to bully children. Heck, you might even want to look into certain people who get a platform by singling out certain demographics as scapegoats. I think in a lot of cases you would find that some of the most hateful people online are getting paid to be who they are. Because if the plan is to just make people uncomfortable with saying mean and uneducated things online, the government is going to look like they're overreaching. And quite frankly, people need to be able to be wrong. And sometimes when you're wrong, you're going to say things that other people see as hateful. But particularly when people are building their whole brands on hatred, becoming full time political talking heads whose whole brand is hatred. I think in those cases, if this act does become law, I think that law enforcement should have to look into who was funding them. Because in my experience, a lot of these people who say the worst things, they're being funded by people. I think it should also really be looked at where, like, if it's just a nobody who was just being wrong, who are they following? Who are they getting their talking points from? Because in a lot of cases, a lot of this stuff, the stuff that gets repeated, is just lonely people trying to fit in with someone because they have bad social skills. I think this sort of thing is the bare minimum, unless this act is really just about making people uncomfortable protesting horrible things that happen to kids.